And so what I can constantly am running into is like all these synchronistic, symbiotic relationships of people
Right.
doing similar work in different disciplines. So,
Mm.
and what Merlin says in that interview with our conversation with David is that he thinks that one of the most important things is transdisciplinarity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like just you and I talking, coming from our different places and what we work on, disciplines, and everybody I'm running into through both online and in the work that I'm doing, yeah, there's a lot of that crossover, and I'm finding that to be the most vital part of this work. So, like with
It
David,
feels to me it's very much a celebration of life from all these different disciplines. And we
right,
have so forgotten life.
right,
We've been doing stuff, but not paying any attention to life
yeah,
or what gives us life or where life comes from or what life actually is like. And I think we're being reseated in that in a really delicious and very sensuous way because it's about being embodied. It is a sensuous experience. It's not just a mental experience, it's a
right.
full body experience.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, thanks for saying that because that's so that and that's really a big part of the image making that I do is that uh, some people feel uncomfortable about talking about sensuality,
Yeah, yeah,
but when people look at a flower and it gives them so much joy, that's a sensuous experience,
that's right.
right? So whether it's watching a sunset, being up in the mountains and having, multiple like sensuous experiences, yeah, that's all a big part of it. And that's why David Abram's first book is so poignant. Um, and that's pretty much what goes into my work. I like to create, I think you used the word juicy
Yes,
in
yes,
your one of your questions is so color is a big part of my vocabulary
right.
and so if you're walking wherever you go, there's all these sensuous details.
Yeah,
And I tend to focus on the natural ones. Uh, and color, juiciness, relationships of juxtaposing different sensuous details in new ways so that you have a different level of dialogue with it is a key ingredient in what I do as an image maker.
you want to share some of your stuff? There you go.
Okay, so this is the most recent painting on my website. I don't work very quickly. So this one was finished towards the end of 2023. Um, and it's called Planetary Biosphere Sentience. So it's the idea that uh, our minds are embedded in the cosmos and that we're living beings and the cosmos and the earth are living beings as well. And so the Earth is our home. That's why it's in the center and it's floating around in this gigantic space that we fully can't really grasp fully. I mean, and we don't fully understand yet, but we're understanding more and more each year. And our minds are what allow us to connect with the larger reality that we live in. So it's sort of like the idea of planetary consciousness uh, so let me see, and then I'll go to the next, see if I
I
can.
have to say, I don't know if you're paying any attention at all, but there's a huge conversation going on about unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard some of that sort of because some of it's going through the Pentagon. too.
Yes, no, I have a friend who's connected with that, and he does a thing called Humanity Rising.
Oh, wow.
It's on every day from in our time zone. It's from 8 to 9:30, and it is a fabulous program. I highly recommend it. And he's doing 2 weeks now talking about this, so I
Wow.
can see elements of that in what you're talking about as well.
So he's focusing on the idea that there is life in out there in
Oh,
the
he's absolutely, yes, he's absolutely sure. He and Danny Sheehan
okay.
have been instrumental in bringing this forward, doing stuff on a very sophisticated level. It's
Oh,
not the
interesting.
same as people who are into aliens. It's a
Right,
very
right,
different,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I have an interesting short story about my own experience with one of my best buddies who lives down in Tacoma that I do most of my backpacking still with. We were up by Glacier Peak in the North Cascades in 2018. And one night we were up at about 6,000 feet. And after dinner, we were just sitting around talking and looking towards the western sky and stars. And I'm pretty sure we had a UFO encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, something, I mean, there's no other explanation for what I saw and he saw with me that there was this very large, it was hard to tell how high up in the altitude it was, sky it was, but it was moving very slowly and it was very big and it had multiple lights on it. And I
Hmm.
sort of pointed it out to my friend and I said, what the heck, what is that? That's really strange. And it changed direction. And you see a lot of jet planes, flying through the
Right.
sky, space, and night sky. But this thing changed direction very slowly. And then all of a sudden just like took off in a hyperspeed like pace and then disappeared. And I'm like, that's nothing like anything we know of technologically that like, and and so I did some research and with other people like the military who have these pilots have recorded their
Right.
their interactions with things that are moving in very high speed and at different elevations. But anyway, yeah, that's a whole nother like life in the universe. That's
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think there is life out there. It's just that the technology and the scale of distances in space is beyond our reckoning right now. So
Well, and as people say, yeah, when you meet someone who is at a different developmental level than you, it's really hard to know what to say to each other.
right.
Yeah,
And that's actually true, like what we're experiencing right now in America, right?
exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's what colonialism is all about. Oh, that's lovely. I love
Yeah,
that.
so this is like on a different scale. So when I go out in nature, like especially in the mountains, I take a lot of digital photographs now, and I've been fascinated, and I've learned a lot more in the last 10
Mm.
years, mainly through mycology about lichens.
Ah, yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
the center of this image is a small crop of some turkey tail fungi
Okay. Can see it.
in
Hmm.
yeah in our neighborhood, my favorite park in Seattle. But I do this out in the mountains all the time. And so this is sort of the idea of celebrating Anima Mundi and how if we love and nurture it, it will flourish, and how that energy is so positive and beautiful on, you know, more of a micro level, besides. Um, so what this painting and this collage has in it is the collage element, the paint, and then there's what like is called variegated metal leaf, which is
Oh,
around the perimeter,
okay.
uh, which is giving it that golden glow.
Wonderful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So yeah, and so I don't want to really replicate. but I want to create, like I said earlier, these relationships. And if you understand or are aware of art history, Byzantine art used gold leaf as sort of
Yeah.
background, sort of in reverence to,
Right.
spiritual light. And that's what
That's beautiful.
yeah, that's what I'm doing here, kind of in terms of what the uniqueness and beauty of lichen is, which is a hybrid of algae and bacteria.
Fungi.
No, is it
Fungi. Mhm.
fungi? Right. So, um,
Oh,
okay. So this is a kind of a different piece in my archive that
oh, I love that.
is a little bit more illustrative. So so I try not to get too literal. I try to create a image that allows space that you can enter into it and sort of wander around and explore these different forms. But this piece is a sort of homage to photosynthesis and how really remarkable photosynthesis is, and how plants take the sunlight and transform it into food, basically, which of course then we thrive on ourselves. So the top part of this is a golden sun, and then there's ginkgo leaves and that are painted, and then the three sort of cellular forms are actual cellular forms that I created in Photoshop and Corel Painter years ago that I keep remorphing into different images. Um, and then you travel down to the base and there's like seed forms. So it's the whole idea of the relationship of solar energy going through the plants and creating a regenerative relationship with the earth. And um, the two templates on the left and right are like an architectural template that is used to draw. So it's sort of like a comment of how we take what's natural and pattern making um, and use it in our design elements when we do, whether it's graphic designs or architectural designs and so forth.
Wonderful. I love the title.
So this piece is a smaller version of a larger painting I'm still working on, but it's related, and it's not a version. It's a series that I've tried to, as a man on this planet, celebrate the feminine.
Mm.
Because I think one of the problems with Western
Yes.
colonial capitalism is patriarchy,
Right.
and how men sort of have dominated both the political power and the cultural power um, for way too long. So um, this is a celebration of the feminine that had a friend help me with, and then I'm working on a larger piece that I've shared on social media that is sort of taking this to another level.
Fabulous.
I think I'll sort of end with sharing this one visually, but so we are stardust. And like you said, there's people researching and talking about, what life exists beyond Earth, with extraterrestrial life. There's some of these dots are I think he's in England. There's a guy who is doing research on stardust, and he collects stardust off of rooftops and houses and buildings, and then ex puts them under a microscope and takes pictures of them. And I should know his name, but it's not coming to me. But the one of the things that becoming a father sort of opened a whole nother level uh, of understanding the really the wonder of creating, creation and creating is, conception of a child, right? So in the dark areas in this painting are facial images of my son, his ultrasounds.
Wow.
And so it's the idea of how human beings and other beings on this planet are recycling stardust and creating new forms, whether they're, mammalian or plant, flora or fauna. And yeah, so I think it's an interesting place that time and place that we live in as biological beings and having this urge to procreate and continue our species. But at the same time, what does that mean for the planet?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in awe of the idea of uh, the conception and then the evolution of a human being, which having father and with his mother and creating another human being sort of opened more doors into the sense of wonder.
Yes,
Yeah, and you
absolutely.
probably this being a mother. I'm guessing
Yep.
it's a remarkable journey, and so that sort of started for me. My son is will be 21 in June, and yeah, so it's just another dimension of expressing that uh, this whole process and journey that we're on.
It's beautiful work, Gordon. It's just
Yeah,
lovely.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
so,
magical.
yeah. So I kind
And
of get.
I want to say, and you may not want to hear this, but I want to say that part of that magic is your description
Oh, thank you.
because it truly opens up the depth that's in there. It takes it beyond just the prettiness and the patterns and the colors, but it gives it real depth and meaning. And I really think there's something to be said, and this is what I meant earlier about doing little vignettes that talk about that for each piece so that people can share that journey with you and also appreciate the depth of information that you put in there because it's if you don't understand it it's just not immediately it's not going to take you there. It needs those words to create that context that the form really takes you into. They're a beautiful pairing. They
Oh,
truly
thank you.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been interesting over time just to sort of share how the audience, the community responds to, and I think this is really important with artwork in general, in visual imagery that we experience of different mediums. It's like music. It's like you fortunately it's been validated by both what other people have written about my work through different um, uh, exhibitions, but also when you are able to interact with the actual community, the
Mm-hmm.
audience, like I'm about to plan a open studio for this later this spring, but people will stand in front of a painting, and it's just confirming, and it's not an ego thing. It's about a communication and a
Right.
connection. So they'll stay there and they say, "Oh, I could stare at this for a long time," which it gives me a lot of joy because I think it goes back to the idea of beauty. Is like I want to create images and paintings that you can't look at it for very quickly and get it all.
Right.
It's like the complexity that we live in the natural web. And that's my objective, and that's why the paintings take a long time, and it's a combination of cognition, intuition, and letting things unfold in a dialogue with the imagery as opposed to dictating something
Right,
as yeah,
right,
yeah. And for instance, today is the spring equinox. I mean, yeah, spring equinox.
right.
In our region, it occurs at 8:06 this evening. So happy equinox.
Happy equinox, yes.
Yeah, and I
Welcome to spring.
appreciate you reaching out to me and wanting to connect and do this interview and discuss all these vital issues and beautiful things about life. So,
Well, I'm so glad we did because it's opened up a whole new world to me. I really have deepened my appreciation for what you do.
well, thank you.
Very
Yeah, so
tremendous.
let's share more of connecting the dots with
Absolutely.
anybody and anything that is related to the larger conversation. Yeah, it's great. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, very much so. Yeah, I would like to share your work with some other people too. The Humanity Rising group that I talked to. With your permission, I will send a clip of your work and your discussions to them and see if they're interested. So they may reach out to
definitely.
you.
Yeah, no, feel free to share. I think a lot of what I appreciate about these connections I've made through DTN is that um, they're very respectful relationships, and so I'm happy to let people share whatever they feel is important to the work they're doing. Yeah, and I
Thank you
sort of do the same, and sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming because we have access to so much
so
information,
much.
and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
but I do believe it's a really wonderful thing
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. I do too. It's
yeah.
just very nice to connect people and I truly treasure this time. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you very much, Gordon.
Be in
Okay.
touch.
We will indeed.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Bye bye.